fund, it is restricted, as the name suggests, but in case anybody is ever, I heard someone questioning it one day, every dollar that is contributed to this project and every dollar of the match is sequestered in this restricted fund and cannot be used for any other project. So just be assured that this multi-year giving effort is all in one place and all safe and ready to be expended as soon as we get started on this project. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries, and the proposed financial actions are approved. Many thanks to all who have contributed to this worthy project. And back to you, I think, for the next item about the destruction of records.
Yes, thank you. The next item is one that we had looked at in the previous month. I have talked with some citizens who had some concerns, but Town Hall is the repository for all the town's records. And some, as you know, you adopt a retention schedule. Some things we are just not required to keep any longer, nor do they have any value to us. We have gone through several boxes of documents back there, and as you can see on the log that we are requesting that you approve, there are several boxes, I think around 25 boxes of material. It is everything from old invoices and check stubs. It is timesheets from employees that haven't worked here in years. It's just a bunch of miscellaneous stuff, and frankly, I have worked here 11 years. I have never been through anything in any of those boxes other than when we looked at them to determine that we don't need to keep them anymore. So with your permission, we would contract with a company who would do a secure shredding. They would give us a certificate which guarantees that they were taken off-site, they were kept locked until they put them in their machine and shredded them up. And so I would just ask for your permission to destroy the records on the destruction log in your packet.
Thank you. Council, is there a motion on this matter?
I make
Yes.
a motion.
Go ahead,
George.
No, go ahead.
Everybody.
I make a motion that we approve destruction of the materials listed on the destruction log.
Second.
We're going to do this all together next time. Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Not really.
I just want to say I trust our town staff that you're being extremely cautious, that you're following all state requirements, and if anyone has any questions, please look at the meeting materials on the website for this meeting, and you will see a log of the items that would be shredded. If there's no further discussion, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries, and the proposed records destruction is approved. Thank you. We'll now move back to Mr. Bruce, I think, for the Parks and Rec items.
So the Parks and, well, that's better, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm hopeful you heard the first half of what I had to say.
we did.
That's better.
So the Parks and Rec Board has agreed to remove that item from the fee schedule. Of course, it will still be available for town committees to use. Secondly, the commission or the advisory board is asking permission to move their meeting time from 7 p.m. to 6:30. They tend to occasionally have longer meetings, and this gets them started and finished a little bit earlier.
Great, thank you. I think we need two separate motions on this. Would you agree? Okay, so is there a motion on the first item regarding the grill?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the modification of the fee schedule as recommended by Parks and Rec.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries, and the fee schedule is amended. And next, the change in meeting time. Is there a motion on that item?
I make a motion, we approve their change of the meeting time from 7 to 6:30.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries, and the meeting time is changed. Big changes. And another Parks and Rec related item next. Back to you.
The last item that I have this evening is a proposed budget amendment for the 2023 Music in the Park program. There's a memo from Deputy Clerk Ashley Royal, who's been working very hard to pull this program together for the summer. As council knows, it's an expanded program. The budget amendment is for $10,000 in this fiscal year to pay for startup costs associated with the expanded program. The requested funds are to pay for marketing material, products, and band costs. We do, however, fully expect the requested amount to be made up in revenue during this fiscal year. So the recommended action is to approve a budget amendment to increase the parks special events revenue by $10,000 and increase the parks special events expenses by the same amount for these startup costs.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Council, is there a motion on this matter?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the budget amendment to increase Parks special events revenue by $10,000 and increase the Parks special events expenses by $10,000 for music in the park startup costs.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just to clarify, you feel that the revenue will be made in this fiscal year?
We do.
Oh, okay, all right.
Fantastic.
There is additional expense and revenue also budgeted in the proposed next fiscal year budget.
Okay.
So, yeah, it kind of straddles the two. Thank you. And is there any discussion on this, any further discussion? If not, I want to thank our Deputy Town Clerk for her leadership in organizing this, and we're very excited about this. Is there, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries, and the budget amendments are approved. Thank you very much. Is there any further business under the town manager's report?
No.
Okay, if not, we'll go on to item 9, new business, and back to you for a presentation of our proposed 2023-24 fiscal year budget, which begins July 1st.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure this evening to present the proposed Town of Oak Ridge fiscal year 2023-24 budget. First, I'd like to acknowledge the work of the Finance Committee in providing considerable input, recommendations, and oversight, and especially to our Finance Officer, Sam Anders, and his staff, including especially Brianna Cardwell, for their knowledge and their expertise in this process. After 4 meetings of the Finance Committee, concluding with a favorable recommendation, I present this report to Council and the citizens in the form of a recommended budget. The proposed 23-24 budget reflects the realization of the long-term strategic vision of the Town Council as laid out in the town's strategic plan and in the capital improvement plan. After multiple years of planning and discussion, several major capital investments are programmed in this year's budget, including the construction of a 250,000-gallon elevated water storage tank and engineering for a 3.5-mile water line to connect the elevated tank to the Winston-Salem, Forsyth County utilities. Not only will this investment provide crucial water for fire protection, but will provide the backbone to the town's municipal water system. This $2.9 million investment in the town's future will be fully funded by state and federal grants. Expenses related to parks, open space, and trails is also reflected in this year's budget. Renovation of the Redmond House into the Farmhouse Community Center, beautification and improvements to the grounds surrounding that site, including new parking and sidewalks, and construction of the Veterans Honor Green are all programmed in the coming fiscal year. I'll note that an additional $430,000 in state and federal grants, in addition to over $90,000 in generous donations from citizens and corporate entities to the Veterans Honor Green, will contribute to the construction costs of these projects. Other initiatives include further investment in the town's growing network of trails, new bleachers and other improvements at the town park, and an inclusive playground at Heritage Farm Park, which is budgeted separately from the overall construction contract of Heritage Farm Park that was approved by council earlier this year. The budget also supports an expanded Music in the Park and a Town of Oak Ridge 25th anniversary celebration, as well as popular events including Ridgefest and Light Up the Night. Operating expenses are proposed to increase 14% over this current budget year due to a number of reasons, including increased costs associated with the management of nearly $6 million in grants, as well as increased costs for goods and services in general. Consulting expenses also account for a portion of this increase for assistance primarily in a much-needed major project to streamline and modernize the town's development ordinance. Merit raises of up to 5% for town staff are also included in the budget. Our staff provides outstanding citizen service, handles increasingly demanding day-to-day responsibilities, and provides exceptional service to the town's parks and public spaces. Staff also provides service and guidance to the town's 13 standing boards and committees, as well as other working groups, consultants, and contractors. The increase in operating expenses is partially offset by a projected 10% increase in revenues that includes property and sales tax receipts, formula-based state distributions, and other sources such as interest income and ABC revenue. That 10% increase is outside of the sizable amount of grants and donations. The recommended budget proposes no change to the property tax rate of 8 cents, which was adopted by council in 2017. Even with a number of major capital investments, including parks and water infrastructure, the budget anticipates a fund balance in excess of $2 million at the end of the next fiscal year. This year's proposed budget therefore maintains the current tax rate, funds these initiatives, and also maintains adequate reserves. The budget message that's included in your packet is also available as a handout on the back table. It's got additional information on these projects and line items. It also provides some background and context to the budget process. We'll put the budget message on the website tomorrow, and it'll be available online. And of course, printed copies are always available at Town Hall. And I thank you for the opportunity to prepare and to present this budget, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. I also want to remind everyone that a public hearing on the budget, this is the introduction. A public hearing will be held at our June 1st meeting in which the public will have a chance to comment. Tonight, comments on the budget, if you've read through it or if you have questions off the cuff, can be offered during either of the 2 periods for public comment that are included on our agenda. So tonight we won't be voting on the budget, but I will open it up for council questions and comments. Councilman McClellan.
Thank you. Yeah, be honest, having been on that committee a couple of times, you know, when the mayor wasn't able to be there as the liaison, very impressed with the job that the folks there did on the budget committee. We've got some first-rate folks there, and I thought the best thing that they did was, you know, basically the clarification on some of the projects, how much was coming from grants and ARPA grants as well as state grants, so that people would know the difference between the two levels. You know, as I always say, it's all taxpayer money, but you want to know exactly how much is a direct investment on the part of the citizens of Oak Ridge versus money that's coming from all over the country. As you know, because on the ARPA stuff, you know, we might have some money in there from somebody in North Dakota, just like the project that's going up in North Dakota may have some money from me or you. And so that's, you know, so I was very pleased with that. I thought that is a great way of communicating, because we are doing some very large projects this year. This is the year of large projects. And so it is a conservative budget that's fiscally conservative. It is a budget that, you know, will not increase the tax rate. And we are living within our means. And that's the best you can ask. Overall, you guys did a fabulous job. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman.
I also want to reiterate that the Finance Committee does an amazing job. They do a zero-sum budget, or whatever the right term is. They start from zero and work up. So they examine everything that's in the budget, and I greatly appreciate the work they do, and the work that Sam and staff does on this is amazing. As always, I know it may annoy some people, but I feel that the one modification I would ask is that it removes the $100 increase in stipend to council. That $6,000 could go to other things. The $6,000 could go to the adaptive park equipment. The $6,000 could go to help with the 14% increase in expenses. The $6,000 could go to help support the replacement trees that are going to have to be replaced along Linville Road. The trees that are underneath the power lines are eventually going to have to be replaced because they're growing into the power lines, and eventually they will need to be replaced. So that's $6,000 that the town council could use as a small token to offset some of the inflation that we've experienced. It's $6,000 that could offset some of the, like I said, the pressure that's on the revenue stream. As we're doing a lot of large projects, and we've had to push several of those projects out because of the pressure on the revenue stream. So I think it's just only reasonable not to take an increase for council. It'd be a good example if council removed that increase in the $100. It's $100 a month times 12, so that's $1,200 per council times 5, so that's where the $6,000 comes from. So that may seem trivial compared to the $2 million we have in our fund balance, but we need to remember $6,000 is still $6,000 that can be used for something else. So I'd encourage that next month when we make our motion, that we modify the budget to remove that $6,000. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pittman.
Yes, the budget is ambitious. We do have the large projects coming online at the same time, but we also have the significant grant funds that mean we can move forward without compromising our fund balance or raising our tax rate. While both our operating revenues and expenses are up, this operating budget is pretty lean, while still providing our staff with what they need to succeed. For those of us that have worked in detail with it, I've been on Finance Committee this year, and our staff and council, we have a pretty good understanding of what is in the budget. But we do realize that this is the first day that most of you have seen it and had access to it. So in response to that and the fact that our public meeting is next month, as always, I'm interested in what our residents have to say and answer any questions. I think it's a good budget, but I do see where questions could come up. If you have concerns, I'm happy to discuss those as well. If you have questions that I'm not able to answer, I will get you the answer. I mean, that's always my rule. I don't mind saying I don't know something. I think I have a good understanding of this particular document, and I look forward to the public hearing and the vote and hopefully the adoption next month.
Thank you. Councilman Sullivan.
Thank you. Mr. Bruce, first, thank you for your budget message that is printed out, and there are a lot of big numbers in this budget. And I hope those of you in attendance and those of you watching online will access this document, either picking up a copy to take with you or to look at it on the website. Mr. Bruce has done a remarkable job in explaining all that is going to be going on and supported by this budget next year. I think we've been preparing for this particular budget for a long time. Over the past several years, we have been very responsible with our fiscal planning. We've accumulated surpluses that allow us to tackle these big projects. We've been very fortunate in receiving all of the grant monies that we have, and now is the time that it is all going to begin to happen. I do have one question for you, Mr. Bruce. You mentioned an excess of $2 million in the fund balance that's anticipated for this year. Can you talk about the makeup of that? We're used to seeing surpluses running around $500,000. What's the component makeup of that? Is some of the grant money included in that?
That's the total projected fund balance. So that's not a addition to the fund balance. We'll be drawing down on the total fund balance by several $1 million due to all these projects this year.
Yeah, but so
The typical.
excess is due in part to the grant monies that are included.
That's correct. We still expect to have about $600,000 revenue over operating expenses. However, the capital projects will reduce the overall fund balance to about $2 million.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Council, for those comments. You've covered a lot of what I was going to cover. I'll just address briefly my thoughts on the stipend increase. This was initiated 3 years ago to do a gradual 3-year increase to bring our council not up above other councils, but at least around the middle of those that were researched 3 years ago. I think it's reasonable. I think it's best practice. I think it's appropriate to value the work done by council members, not because I'm sitting in this seat, but because someone else will be soon sitting in this seat or in any of our seats. We want to reward reasonably those who serve our town, and clearly all budget decisions can be reallocated to other projects if we decide not to do them. I would point out that this is less than 0.5% of our administrative budget of around $1 million. Following up on what Councilman Sullivan has said, we have indeed been preparing for this year for a long time. And that comes out of the fact that we have an active and useful strategic plan, not one that sits on the shelf, but one that this council developed and has been ambitiously, obviously with most of the assistance coming from staff, but working through to accomplish the goals set forward in that strategic plan. For example, the effort to create a municipal water system, well, that's as old as the town itself. But recent efforts date back at least 6 years, even longer if you include the regional water study. Another major initiative, the new Heritage Farm Park, has been in the planning stages since we purchased that property in 2018. Right behind it, the renovation of the historic Redmond House has been planned over the last 4.5 years. Trail and sidewalk development have continued since we established our pedestrian plan back in 2013 and even before, and planning for a community site to honor our veterans began in 2018. It's amazing where we've come to, but the years just fly by, it seems. But this is a pretty quick and nimble pace for a municipal government. Opportunities for cost savings will continue on all fronts. For example, the delays that we've encountered in park construction due to trying to find a productive well there, which we now have, we're moving forward, but that may afford some helpful savings on that project in terms of coordinating it with the Veterans Honor Green, since both are now going to happen around the same time. So this budget is, as our work, I think, in Oak Ridge always is, thoughtful, intentional, and ambitious. Everything is presented transparently, and I will also thank Mr. Bruce for the great budget message. And what's great about it isn't that it's several pages long, it's that it's several pages of clear prose with lots of really succinct information in it. So if you want an overview of what we're doing, and underneath several of these projects, he has a useful summary of the key numbers, how much it costs, how much we're getting in grants, how much is the net cost to the town. Because the grants, frankly, are confusing. I talk about them all the time, and every once in a while I talk myself in a circle on them. So everything is presented transparently without any exaggeration. Revenues are estimated conservatively, as what they always are. even as expenses are estimated as best we can with inflationary pressures in mind. The result, I think, is a solid budget that will steer us through the next year. And as I know the rest of council has already expressed, we are so grateful to staff and to our finance officer, and grateful even to our town attorney, because he's having to help us with a lot more with these grants involved. Thanks to all who've contributed, especially, of course, our Finance Committee and all of the committees who've submitted and had to defend their own budgets. So I support this budget, and I look forward to our public hearing, and like Martha, I would welcome the chance to hear from residents about what you think. Thank you so much. Is there any further questions or comments? If not, then we will move on to item B under new business, which is consideration of a revised town water rate. Back to you, Mr. Bruce.
Thank you. There is a resolution in your packet amending the Town of Oak Ridge water system fees and charges schedule. Town Council may recall last year adopting a water base rate, $21 plus $6.50 per 1,000 gallons per month. Like all costs, costs for chemicals and other services related to our contract for management of the water system have gone up. We currently don't have any customers on the system. However, next year we expect, as the Honeycutt Reserve development gets underway, to have between 15 and 20 customers on the system. The Water Advisory Committee has recommended a slight increase to the rate to accommodate increased charges related to chemicals. That rate is proposed at $24 a month plus $7.50 per 1,000 gallons. I will note that that rate is lower than the existing rate for one of the local private water providers and lower than a proposed rate for the other major private water provider.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Council, is there a motion regarding this matter?
Madam Mayor, I make this motion in the form of a resolution that's in our packet. This is Resolution R-2023-09, amending the Town of Oak Ridge water system fees and charges schedule to the amounts mentioned by Mr. Bruce.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? I'll turn to you, Councilman Sullivan, since you made the motion.
As Mr. Bruce has pointed out, inflation has impacted every area of our lives, including chemical costs, services, supplies that we're going to need. And I wanted to just point out that being a water system operator, the funds and expenses are kept separate in what is called an enterprise fund. It's not part of our budget. It's a totally separate budget. So we do need appropriate revenues to offset those expenses. And in a nutshell, that's what this resolution, these new rates will do, is they will cover our expenses and allow a reasonable rate of return for repairs and other expenses we might incur. No one likes to raise prices, but it is something that our Water Advisory Committee felt was necessary to do at this time in anticipation of bringing the Honeycutt system online. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pittman, any comments?
I don't have any questions, but I would like to say thank you to the Water Advisory Board and the staff, along with Mayor Snyder and Councilman Sullivan, for all the due diligence and the work that's done to make sure that we're in the right place to go forward with our enterprise fund. But I especially want to thank Councilman Sullivan, who has worked many years to make municipal water in Oak Ridge a reality. I think one of our first discussions we ever had, it had to be either trails or water. I'm not sure which one, depending on which one of us spoke first, probably. So I'm looking forward to seeing our first paying customer.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman.
I'm almost certain I've asked this question before. we don't have to go before the state to get rates approved or anything like that?
That's correct.
Okay. And the other thing is, how much do we differ from the other water companies? You have an idea? Just ballpark. It doesn't have to be super.
We're just a little bit below.
50 cents, 75 cents?
One of them is proposed at 25.31 and 7.89. One existing is 24.11 and 7.57.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilman McClellan.
I want to thank Councilman Sullivan, the Water Advisory Board, for the hard work that they are doing. I mean, the fact is, things are going up in price, chemicals, things that make sure that we can keep this system, financially feasible. So I don't have any real questions here. I think it's fairly plain.
Thank you. And I would also just note that the Water Advisory Committee came to this recommendation after reviewing the proposed budget for next year prepared by EnviroLink, which is our water system operator, and seeing how the prices had skyrocketed, as Councilman Sullivan was talking about, felt that we needed to make this adjustment. If there's no further discussion, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries and the revised water rates are approved. Thank you very much. We will now move on to item 10, which is the first of two periods for public comment. Speakers should provide their name and address and are asked to keep their comments under 3 minutes in length. Is there anyone who wishes to speak tonight? Raise your hand. Come on forward, Mr. Stone.
Mike Stone, 8112 Hunting Cog Road, and that just quit. Okay, no surprise, I'm here. I know that the budget was just presented, but I'm here to remind you that a year ago, you raised our taxes by over 20%, and you said you were going to tighten your belts. I don't see it. I don't see it. Mr. Bruce noted an increase in tax revenue. No kidding. It's our money that you added to it. That should be returned to the taxpayers. Also noted 14% increase in operating expenses. Well, that's felt by every citizen in Oak Ridge. It's called inflation, and it hits us first. $2 million fund balance. You're going to have to explain that when I understand it has something to do with grants and everything, but you're going to have to do a really good job of explaining a $2 million fund balance and not giving us a tax cut. This council last year, after voting a 20% tax increase on the citizens, said that this year would be the year we would have to tighten our belts. I don't see it. What happened? Was that just talk? This budget is a spending spree of large and pet projects. You won't even consider a $6,000 line item about reducing your own pay by $100 a month each. You got to walk. You've already talked it. You got to walk the walk now. $6,000, if you won't consider that, you're sure as heck not going to consider the bigger things. But you've got to set a standard, you've got to set an example. Certainly, this town can live up to their words, and you can tighten your belts.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak tonight? Mr. Walraven.
I don't want, Ben Walraven, 5931 Pepper Road. I don't want to be the guy that cried wolf, but I was going over your strategic plan introduction statement, which was adopted on March 2nd of this year. It said your areas of plan focus were parks and recreation, infrastructure, growth and development, and preservation. And then later on in that paragraph, it says in early 2021 and again in the fall of 2022, the council met to review its progress, assess emerging trends and issues, which I want to come back and address, identify priorities to guide future efforts. And this strategic plan reflects the updated priorities while building on past successes. I read in the Northwest Observer today that Boom Supersonic and Marshall Aerospace will bring 3,000 jobs to our airport. And as you can imagine, that's going to make Oak Ridge a very attractive place to live. Those two companies take up 20% of the 1,000 acres that is dedicated towards aerospace growth at the airport. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I think the planning that you've done this far to accommodate the influx of people that we're going to have and the pressure on our community is very important. But unintended consequences happen that you can never forecast. For example, when these people come in, things are going to be asked of us that we can't anticipate. And I don't know how the Planning Commission and other aspects of the government are going to focus on the impending growth that the town's going to have and how to reflect that in the decisions that you're going to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak tonight? Mr. Harton, come on down.
Jim Harton, 5901 Pepper Road. One of the things that I would say, having been on the Budget Committee for 3 years, we've already commended the hard work that Sam and Bill have done, John especially, and the other members of the committee who really do a phenomenal job going line by line, very tedious process, and we get to the bottom of it. Budgets are guides. Budgets should be there to guide us, but we are living in some very strange times. We have inflation hitting us. We have, as Councilman Sullivan said earlier, we have a lot of things that have been worked on for a very long time, and all of it has come together for action. And so this budget is addressing that. It's not to be considered stagnant, as previously observed. It's something that we went through seriously and with great effort to bring this budget to you, to accommodate all of the things that this town has been working on for several years and anticipating that these actions would be taken in time, and the time is now. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Okay, if there's no one else, we'll move on to item 11, the monthly financial update. And since our April meeting was held at the end of March, before the full financials for March could be completed, we've received those documents as well as the April financials. We'll put it on hold for a few minutes? Okay, we'll just pause for a moment. And I'll just finish saying, so we now are going to hear about both months from our finance report. Well, not now, but in a few minutes.
If this was the Lions Club, I could tell a bad joke. But it's not the Lions Club, so I won't do that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's allowed.
No, don't worry. What's that?
Oh,
Yeah, well, go ahead. Which one? Oh, the businessman? Oh. What's the difference between a businessman and a dog? A businessman wears a suit where dogs just pants.
so I've already heard that, and I had forgotten it, and I still laugh. Okay, so thank you. I appreciate
Well, you
that.
can tell the dance. What about the why are dogs such bad dancers?
You want to do that one? I'm not sure everyone on the YouTube channel heard that, because you're too far back from your mic.
I'm sorry, my microphone was on. Because they have 2 left feet.
That's good. Okay.
Drum roll.
Any-
have no
Nothing?
jokes.
No, me neither. Me neither.
It's all George's fault.
Yes.
Time's up, George. Thank you, everyone, again for being here. What's that? Oh, back to work. Okay, the recess is over.
I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later.
Thank you, Mr. Anders. Go for it.
All right. And looky y'all, a double header. Ray Combs would have already had a heart attack over the fact that I've got 2 sets to present. I hope Ray's on YouTube watching. Yes, because of the meeting change, we got the financials cut after the meeting. For the monthly report on that, we had received property taxes of $7,841.59, motor vehicle taxes $71.7120, a total of $15,012.79 that was collected through March 31. For the month, we had sales tax and property tax, interest, Veterans Honor Green donations, some other park revenues, which is basically rentals, dog park fund donations, special events park revenue, and franchise tax receipts. The franchise tax is telecom, video programming, electric power, and pipe natural gas. And those, as I've said, 3 months ago, we're receiving those. The electricity, the gas, things are fairly normal, but the video programming and telecom are trending somewhat down, albeit slightly, but it's following the trend the state's been reporting for the last few years. During the month, we supported the staff with grant compliance, LGC application process. We're continuing to support the ARPA and SCIF grants, as well as the CIP process and work on potential water system. The major item to note during March, the loan with the Whitakers for the Heritage Farm Park was paid off early. Debt was reduced by $900,000, and we would save $125,500 in future interest payments. On the financials, we had total current assets of $4.7 million, total liabilities of $66,000, and fund balance of $4,705,000. We brought in revenues of $139,078.20 for the month, and we had expenses of $1,109,759.58, reducing the fund balance by $970,681.38, and that was primarily the paying off of the loan. Schedule 1 shows the balances in our banks between Truist, Bank of Oak Ridge, and Piedmont Federal. Supplementary Schedule 2 has the fine detail, and as always, behind is Schedule 3 with assets and depreciation, and I would call your attention to Schedule 4, the lower right corner with a 0. So the debt was paid off. Now, turning to this month's financials, again, we've received wire transfers remitting $29.95.33 on property tax, motor vehicle taxes $88.70.66, total of $11,865.99, and this is all collections through April 30th. Monthly, we had sales tax and property tax, planning and zoning fees, grants came in, ABC distribution came in, interest, Veterans Honor Green donations, some other park revenues, dog park fund donations, and special events park revenue. The investments, we're still monitoring and looking at increasing our yields. We're still working on the grant compliance, the ARPA and the SCIF. All of those are ongoing processes. The CIP process with the budget and everything being drafted, supporting that. The loan with Truist to finance the construction of the Heritage Farm Park was closed on April the 6th. You'll see a $3 million loan amount that was deposited into an account named Truist HFP account, and that one's net of closing fees, so it's slightly below the $3 million. One last item that broke late after I had already gotten this typed up is not, it will be an item F. I had a phone conference with the auditor. They wanted to go ahead and discuss scheduling early this year because of our projects and everything going on. So our audit manager contacted me. We set up a phone conference and spent roughly an hour scheduling out, and he was asking questions on where we stood with the different grants, the different projects, and how things were going. Right now, we're scheduled for, I believe it's the week of June the 12th for preliminary. They'll be at the office about 3 days that week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they plan on completing field work the last full week of August, and again on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We've got the same audit staff member that will be coming out. He is a former finance person with municipalities and county governments. He's working semi-retired with them. Excellent man and extremely knowledgeable on grants and work like that. The auditors are also working with us to use the new procedures that are allowed so that we do not have to have multiple single audits, which are very expensive. So the auditors are working with us to find within the realms of all of the ARPA rules, the SCIF rules, the state rules, and the federal rules, the path that gets us the compliance we need at the lowest possible cost. So we have a great relationship with 4 of us, and they've really busted their butts trying to help us and find ways to save money for all their clients. So that's the major thing. On the financials, with the loan proceeds, we've got total assets of $7.8 million, liabilities of $66,800, and fund balances of $7.7 million. As Councilman Sullivan discussed, just like the enterprise fund is isolated and restricted, we have capital projects funds are committed and restricted, and we have other fund balances for special needs all on the bottom of this that are restricted. On the loan, just so everyone understands, that has been drawn. The way this works with the municipality, it's deposited in a money market account. So while it is sitting in there and we are paying interest on it, we are also receiving some interest, albeit the rates are lower. When we go to the process of spending the money on the park, we are intending to use the ARPA monies first due to the timing on that. They will also qualify us to go ahead and draw the PARTF monies sooner, and then we will be using the loan proceeds. By doing it in this way, we can realize the longest cost savings that we have. We will also be maximizing the cash flow coming in on the projects. That project funding with Truist, they have a direct banker that we have a one-on-one relationship with in Greensboro who will act as the clearinghouse for our request for payments after the engineers have certified everything. And then he transfers it into the new Capital Projects Fund account that we have established. We're isolating all transactions will go through that one account. And I do not know what obnoxious, unusual colored check we will be using, but Brianna is picking out something that does not resemble anything we use. And I say that and everybody kind of chuckles, but when we do have to go through these audit procedures, anything relating to that capital project fund will be a unique color that has not been used in probably 10 years. So that way we can visibly isolate everything and we make it run quicker and faster when the auditors do come, and if we ever have an ARPA audit or a SCIF audit from the respective agencies. So everything on this is coming together. We're getting ready to go. The checks are being ordered. In fact, they were ordered, I believe, today for the construction account. So when they get ready to break ground, we're going to be ready with the paperwork and the funding and the means of tracking and paying the bills. For the month, we had $3,180,389 come in revenues, which is $3 million of loan funds. So $180,389.75. We spent $157,007.04. Again, deposit balances at Truist of $3.3 million, Bank of Oak Ridge at $3.46 million, and Piedmont Federal at a little over $1 million. Interest earnings are coming in. The rates have improved somewhat from where we were a year ago. And behind that, you will see the detailed schedule, followed by the asset schedule, and a new replacement schedule 4 that shows the payout on the loan that we just established. And it's laid out so that you can see it. 6/1/23 is the first loan payment. Due to the timing of the closing because of the LGC, it's a little off cycle, so they skipped May and we're doing a payment in June. Then you will see each fiscal year laid out through the end for the financing term, which is 15 years at a rate of 3.94%. The payment is $16,666.67 principal each month plus interest. So this is each band going down the table is 12 monthly payments. So we've got all the compliance and all the information is there for you.
Thank you, Mr. Anders. Council, is there a motion to accept the financial report?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the financial report as presented by our Chief Financial Officer.
For both months.
You have to say both.
Oh, both of them.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. And both of the financial reports are approved. Thank you. Thank you
I
for
guess-
all of
I
that.
guess in June, will we have a repeat of this because July won't be ready?
That's right. We have an
July
early,
meeting's in June.
Yeah, the July meeting's in June, so you'll have truncated financials at the end of June, and then we will have a double in July.
Okay.
The August meeting.
Okay.
that's a good reminder to, a good moment to remind everyone that our next town council meeting won't be held in July. Oh, no, that's.
We're
wait a
on
minute.
schedule in June.
We're on schedule in June, sorry.
Yeah, we're on schedule in
But
June.
looking forward, sorry, the July meeting will be held on June 30th to avoid the July 4th holiday. Thank you for helping me with the months. And thank you, Mr. Anders. We'll now invite brief reports of up to 3 minutes in length from our boards and committees and community organizations. We'll start with the Water Advisory Board. Mr. Harton.
Jim Harton, 5901 Pepper Road. The Water Advisory Committee met on April 26th. We went and looked at an updated site plan for the water tower with its entrance now located to the north, or this, pointing this direction. The Historic Preservation Committee, as I understand, has reviewed and approved the design for the tower, and the Planning and Zoning group will need to approve the site location. It is expected that these recommendations will be provided to the town in time for the June council meeting. Progress, I think everybody has seen, is being made by the Wooten Company for the plan for a water main following for Highway 150 from the Winston-Salem, Forsyth County line. Representatives from the town and the Water Advisory Committee will meet with the Wooten Company, I think sometime in mid-May, for a full update on their progress. The committee discussed the expected first community wells and homes to become customers of Oak Ridge Water Department. You heard a little bit about that, and the expectation of the Honeycutt Reserve properties and wells coming into the Oak Ridge Water Department. Deeds for these wells will need to be transferred to the town. The committee also reviewed a 25-year historical Oak Ridge water timeline document. It now includes all of the recent decisions made by town council regarding the water tank and the hiring of Wooten Company to prepare the plan for the water line from Forsyth County. Current funding and appropriations from state and federal sources are also documented in this 25-year historical Oak Ridge water timeline. Lastly, representatives from EnviroLink were not in attendance, so there was no update from the Water Department. However, as you saw earlier, the committee did review updated cost information previously provided by EnviroLink and now has recommended and been accepted by town council for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to the Historic Preservation Commission. Do we have someone here tonight? I see one member, but you're not prepared to give a report.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, well, yeah, go ahead, please do. You had 3 COAs. Yeah. This is a test, Barb.
Now I gotta remember what we did. Barbara Engel, 8524 Rosedale Avenue, or Road, Drive. See, I'm already flustered. The Historic Preservation Commission met last Wednesday, and we had 2 COAs before us. One was for the nice new water tower that Oak Ridge is going to have behind the building here, and that was approved. And, and I can't tell you his name, but we approved a house along 150 is going to update the front of their house by painting the brick and restoring the
Siding.
the siding. It's aluminum now, and now it's going to be probably something more compatible with the rest of the historic district. And that's all I can think of. Any questions?
No,
That was only those two that I can remember.
I think that's right.
I was at the meeting. Y'all did a great job.
Oh, thank you, George.
Thank you for pinch hitting here. Planning and zoning, Mr. Strack.
That's for Barb here. Jason Strack, 8518 Rosedale Drive. Planning and zoning met April 27th for regular meeting. We heard a public hearing on the rezoning case that was approved by town council tonight, RZ 2301, as well as new business, a subdivision case, approximately 9.6 acres, going to be subdivided into 4 lots, and that was approved unanimously as well. And then finally, the site plan for the water tower, as they mentioned before, planning and zoning has reviewed this site plan and approved it unanimously as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mountains to Sea Trail, Ms. Steele.
Hi, Ann Steele, 8927 Grove Park Drive. The MST committee met on April 25th. We discussed plans for future trail work days, guided hikes, and we continue to map out ideas for other trail options. On April 26th, we held a trail work day on the Headwaters Trail. We worked on some maintenance issues, which we continue to monitor and respond to as needed. Committee member Stephanie Farrell set up our booth for Canine Capers last weekend. She reported back that she spoke to many folks who are very interested in our local trails and was able to make contacts for possible additional volunteers. On Saturday, May 13th, we will host a guided hike of the Headwaters Trail. This will be our springtime experience of the trail as we celebrate the year of the trail. The hike will begin at 10 a.m., starting from the Linville parking lot. We will host a trail work day on Wednesday, May 24th at 9 a.m. We will be working on the loop of trails in Carriage Cove. And lastly, Martha attended the Friends of the MST gathering over the weekend, where she was invited to be a guest speaker. She is a great advocate for our trails and helps us set a good example to others all across our state. Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Conservation Easement Committee, Ms. Farrell can't be here tonight, but since no major decisions were made at the last meeting, we'll just wait for her report next month. We'll move on to Special Events Committee, Ms. Domchowski.
Patty Domchowski, 7320 Hidden View Drive. This year, our Memorial Day ceremony, our guest speaker is going to be County Commissioner Patrick Tillman. He served as a combat U.S. Marine with the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force in Abnar Province, Iraq. Serving as a staff non-commissioned officer during his 13-and-a-half-year career in the Marines, he earned numerous medals and commendations. The ceremony will be on Monday, May 29th at 10 a.m. in the park at the amphitheater. Backup again will be at the town hall if we have bad weather. The Scouts will also be participating again this year. We continue to make progress in planning this year's Light at the Night, July 4th Kids Parade, the marking of the historic 100th anniversary of the Benbow House, and our 25th anniversary celebration of Oak Ridge. As mentioned in the financial report from SAM, we received $7,845 in donations in March, which was matched by the town. In addition, we received $2,650 in April, which will be matched next quarter. But our big news is we've been advised that we will receive $10,000 from the Lowry family. This is from Courtney Benbow's Hartram's grandmother's side of the family. We can't thank this family enough for all that they have done for the Veterans Honor Green. This is actually their second contribution, and thanks to Jim for coordinating this also. This will bring our total donations and matchings to over $200,000, which was our initial fundraising goal. We also have additional checks and pledges totaling $5,000, as well as additional funding requests outstanding. Romerla Siegel has pledged $2,000, and we're still waiting on our Merchants of Oak Ridge for the $3,000, which they have pledged, which I'm sure will be here any time. We're going to continue to sell the pavers. Pavers will continue to be sold. We will now be in a position to start the bidding process on the construction of the Honor Green, hopefully in July. Since we understand the inflation will likely cause the bids for the project to come in well over our original estimate of $200,000, we'll likely revise some of our fundraising goals and plans upward to at least $240,000. So please, if you have not donated yet, please consider donating today. We're hoping to complete the bidding process by August, and this is a great timing, as we'll be able to dovetail the construction of the new park and Honor Green. I feel like I'm a poster girl tonight for everything that has been discussed and every situation you could have. I can't thank the Special Events Committee enough for all their hard work that they have done with this project. This has been 5 years in the making. I can't thank our community and the businesses of Oak Ridge for all their generosity, and you owe me a minute from the last time. I just want to say that.
Finish it off.
No, and I went and checked. And also, I can't thank the community and the businesses in Oak Ridge for all their generosity, and especially to the town council for their matching funds that have made this achievement possible. And I also like to thank Ann for kind of keeping me on the right road of where I should be going and how I should be handling things, because a lot of this was all new to us on the Special Events Committee. So I thank you. We're there, and we're moving on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Any questions,
No.
comments?
Good job.
Thank you.
You're a lovely poster child.
Yes, you are.
Amen to that. We'll now move on to the tree board. Ms. Danner. That was a very happy report. Thank you.
I'll be donating some of my time to her. Sarah Williams Danner, 7404 Hadley Court. The tree board met on April 6th. We will be participating in the September Heritage Day celebration with a booth. Why, are you asking? Participating in the event will allow the tree board to meet the criteria needed to complete the 2023 Tree City USA guidelines, which we're so proud of. The booth will provide the community with informational pamphlets, opportunities to discuss the Oak Ridge treasure trees, and I'm happy to announce tonight that Taylor Jones from the North Carolina Extension Office has agreed to come as a special speaker for us. He's our tree guru for Guilford County, and he is responsible in Guilford County for the Consumer and Home Horticulture Division. He's going to be at the booth from 10 a.m. to noon to discuss tree health and provide a Q&A for our residents. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love it that we're moving forward on these items. Parks and Rec Advisory Board, Mr. Browning.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to continue the happy theme for the last couple of speakers. I'm John Browning, 8024 Linville Road. Happy to be here tonight presenting the activities report for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. We met April 20th. Just a few items to highlight. I did want to thank you for approving our request, especially the start time change from 7 to 6:30, so we're excited about that. We did approve a youth running camp for ages 8 to 14. It's going to run from July 24th to August 4th. This is the third year that the Youth Association has had this camp, and it benefits the Second Harvest Food Bank, so we're excited about that. Excited to extend, renew, and have the pickleball courts open presently from Monday through Thursday dawn till 4 o'clock, and on some selected weekends when the parking flow will allow that. So they're going to get with Terry to see what weekends that the pickleball players and courts can be in use. So very good with that. We remain happy with our new selection of our frozen treat vendor, the Scoop Zone. Again, ice cream and Italian ice. So good products and good service so far through them to the park. And the most exciting part of my report is our Music in the Park series has kicked off. We went ahead and got the rain date out of the way with the first event, and I'm happy to report that moving to the Methodist Church worked out well. You know, it's great to have a rain date or a place to go in inclement weather, so hopefully that's going to be the only one, but we have a good place to go for inclement weather. And I do want to remind you that this coming May 13th, Gypsy Danger will be one of our sponsored events. And again, we are extremely excited about this event coming up with food trucks and beverages provided by Wise Man Brewing and Oak Ridge Craft and Vine. So this is going to be May 13th. And be sure and pick up a calendar on your way out on the left. There's a table on the left. Be sure and pick up a calendar to bring all your friends out for the Music in the Park series. And we do want to thank Marina Shepherd Associates, Allen Tate Realtors, Oak Ridge Commons, Domino's, and TireMax for their sponsorships of these sponsored series. And again, we're excited about that. And please come out and tell everybody you know about those. Any comments or questions?
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And Finance Committee, Mr. Jenkins.
John Jenkins, 6700 Ashton Park Drive, Oak Ridge, North Carolina. It just occurred to me while I'm sitting there that none of those committees would be active without the budget that we put together. It's a responsible budget, and I can't talk enough about the support we got from Bill and Sam. I'm kind of anal about the way I want to see reports so that we can review them easily. And then the Finance Committee is probably one of the most competent finance committees I've worked with since I've been on the Finance Committee. They're all financial people or business owners. We get support from the council. Ann and Martha and George came to all the meetings. And just so people will know, they don't come to advocate for anything. They come to answer our questions. And I appreciate that. So I'm very pleased with the budget this year. We went through the operational budget line item by line item. We asked a lot of questions. We got a lot of responses. And I believe it is a responsible budget that makes, yes, we're spending a lot of capital, but if we want Oak Ridge to be attractive for people to come live here, we have to give them some amenities. I would not want to be like Stokesdale or Summerfield, just calling people out here. So I'm very pleased with the budget. I'm very pleased with the process. And I just really appreciate the support we got from the Finance Committee. Any questions?
Thank you for your hard work.
You did a great job,
Thank you.
all of you.
That was also a happy report. We'll now move on to our community organization reports, starting with a report from Mr. Barbary on the Triad, who serves on the Triad Municipal ABC Board and reports to us on a quarterly basis. Thank you for being here.
So I'm Jim Barbary. I live at 7903 Quiet Place. I'm here for the Triad Municipal ABC Board. And again, a happy report. Sales for the past year were up 12, or nearly 13%. And better than that, net profit was up nearly 20%. So then for Oak Ridge, and this is something that I think we should be proud of, in 2023, we had, in March, 11,120 bottles of liquor sold. And that gives us 316 more than last year. So we've got a good thing going here. So then the part I think everybody really cares most about is we just got a check to Oak Ridge for $42,003, which gives us an annual total of $240,593 against a budget of $225,000.
Thank you, that's amazing. Oak Ridge Youth Association, I don't think I see Mr. Collins, okay. Oak Ridge Military Academy, no one. Oak Ridge Elementary School, Principal Lotion, come on down.
Good evening, Penny Lotion, principal of ORE. It's been a very busy week at ORE. We held a very successful STEM night, bigger and better than even our fall one, and thank you, George, for being there. We also had over 40 families attend our prospective kindergarten night, and we are excited about them joining the ORE cult family. Our wonderful PTO, parents, and community did an amazing job during Teacher Appreciation Week. Delicious lunches and snacks were provided, and staff showered with gifts and notes of thanks. Our staff greatly appreciated the outpouring of support. PTO, along with Apex Fundraising Company, have been in the building the past 2 weeks. Our students participated in a daily character and leadership program that teaches the principles of social and emotional learning and encouraging positive behavior. Today, you probably noticed a lot of traffic over there. Our students were participating in a derby run where students ran laps matching pledges they had received. You may have also noticed Tuesday someone sitting on the roof of ORE all day. It was me, to raise $3,000 to get me off the roof. Of course, the students were very concerned. Their main concern was I going to be fed all day and have lunch? Was I going to sleep there that night? And what did I need to do if I had to go to the bathroom? Their main concerns. So they were very excited to see that I did finally come down the next day. I do want to say a special thanks to the ORE Fire Department, who helped me get up there safely and get down safely. As of this morning, with the help of our parents and the ORE community, we've raised $38,768, which will go directly back to benefiting our students. We have 25 more days of school left, and we'll be finishing out on a strong note. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. We'll now enter the item number 14. We'll enter the second period for public comments. Is there anyone who wishes to speak this time round? Please come forward.
Thank you very much. Jacob Bender, 7022 Carriage Cove Drive in Oak Ridge. I'd just like to say a few things, having thought about the budget that was presented. I know it was only presented today. I should have more in-depth thoughts in June, but just some surface-level observations. Like the gentleman in the back mentioned, I am concerned about the increase in the operating budget. I know the mayor said this is a big year for us, but again, you know, Reagan said, no government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size. Okay, a government program once established only grows. It never ratchets back down. And really that's my concern with this year's budget. Given the large amounts that, you know, is being proposed, I share in Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman's view of it being hard to justify the stipend increase of $6,000 additional dollars. Now, back there, it heard in my mind that it was $6,000 total. I didn't realize it was $6,000 an increase upon what's already there. And I think given the large amounts we're already spending this year, that isn't easy to justify. Now, moving on, the mayor says it's only 0.5% of the budget, and that's another point I'd like to raise. I don't think that we can reasonably be getting to the point where $6,000 is just a drop in the bucket of our budget. I think if we're increasing that to such a point, that presents some problems. And, you know, with that in mind, let's talk funding. You know, as outlined in the proposed budget, a large proportion of the funds we have are coming from grants. Now, if we continue to fund these large, long-term projects with grants, like from ARPA, for example, we run the risk of, you know, running out of that operating revenue if we can't get the grants to continue to sustain these projects. Now, we were told when council last year chose not to go with a revenue-neutral rate that the additional funds they would raise would not be taken for granted and would be used conservatively. My concern is that with the presented budget, this simply is not the case. Now, I recall some time ago when Representative Faircloth attended a meeting to present grant funds from the state. He made the point that we should not let the funding given be taken for granted. We shouldn't let it become the new normal. But it's my fear that with these budgetary increases, we would be doing just that. For these reasons, I share in Councilman Kinnaman's concerns about the budget, and I look forward to making more comments known in June. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight? Dr. Schneider.
Dr. Matthew Schneider, 8506 Rosedale Drive. I want to commend and thank this council, the staff of the town of Oak Ridge, my fellow citizens who serve on the 13 boards and committees for the careful preparation of this budget, but even more important than that, for embracing a vision for the future of this town that's worthy of its citizens and worthy of the proud history of Oak Ridge, which, as I see, dates all the way back to 1764. The new budget and the projects that are outlined in this budget, including the Veterans Honor Green, the Water Project, the Heritage Farm Park, will definitely attract people to our town. And that's a nice thing, but that's not really the most valuable thing about this budget and the ambitious projects that it lays out. The most valuable aspect of this is that it shows that the faith placed by the founders of this country in government by the people was not ill-founded, that faith can be redeemed in a town like Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge will be a very attractive place to live as a result of these projects, but even more important, it will be a shining example of the promise of America, that people will look to Oak Ridge and look to the citizen government of Oak Ridge as an example that other places can follow. If we don't embrace this vision, if we don't pursue these projects, if we allow ourselves to just retreat into our own backyards, we run the risk not only of betraying that faith placed in us by our founders, but also we run the risk of having a town that looks like all the towns, or many of the towns that we all know about, with a shuttered commercial district, a ghost town in the center. We don't want that. We want to be what this town was dreamed to be from the very beginning. And I thank you, council. I thank the town staff, and I thank my fellow citizens for making that a reality.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Seeing no one, we will proceed to item number 15, council comments, and we'll open a period of comments for those of us up here. We'll start with Councilman Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to just briefly touch on Mr. Walraven's comments. I think we're all acutely aware of the development that's occurring, particularly at the airport, which is close by, and which naturally is going to put pressure on Oak Ridge. We are a very desirable place to live. Naturally, we will, as Dr. Schneider has pointed out, we're going to attract people because of that. And as I look at this proposed budget, what I see behind it is years and years and years of planning for managed growth that's designed to maintain the character of our town and to preserve a quality of life while allowing for that growth. Yes, there'll be pressure on the infrastructure. A lot of that pressure are items that are beyond our control, roads, schools, those sorts of things. But when I look at this budget, I see where we have been very proactive over the years, not just this year, but over the years, in planning. I look at our land use plan, I look at our strategic plan, I look at our ordinances, I look at our capital improvement plans. Everything is designed to provide for growth and to maintain our quality of life and to maintain who we are as a town. Proud of our history, but being very open and willing to adapt and change. I mean, why would we develop more playing fields in our parks? It's to accommodate the growth that we inevitably expect to see here. I think I'm in awe of Mr. Jenkins and his committee. What an incredible job you've done. And for many, many years, as long as I can remember, you've always chaired that committee. And and as I remember, I think our former Mayor Ray Combs kind of tricked you into that. But thank you for your work, and I hope everyone can appreciate the many, many years of planning that have resulted in this current budget that we're going to talk about next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pittman.
I'm not going to talk about the budget. I'm always thankful and, to be a proud resident of Oak Ridge. As Ann Steele mentioned, this past weekend, I was honored to represent Oak Ridge at the 2023 Annual Gathering of Friends of the MST. Those meetings are always so much fun. We spend a lot of time working and playing with other like-minded trail folks from across the state. I had the chance to brag on Oak Ridge to the 300-plus attendees as one of the 4 community speakers at the annual business session. I'm used to speaking to groups your size. I'm not used to speaking to groups of 300-plus, so that was a little different for me. The Oak Ridge team, and I say the team because it's the MST committee, it's staff, it's the community volunteers, and it's the strategic vision of this council that make up that trail team in Oak Ridge. They do such a fantastic job that we were chosen as a town that others can use as a model. That's why we were asked to speak. We're doing something that the Friends of the MST wanted to show other towns. We were used as a model for our strategic planning and the integration of our committees and the way we all interact. And one of my PowerPoints had the bullet from our strategic plan about developing trails and pedestrian in Oak Ridge, and also for our community engagement, because without community engagement and our volunteers, we would not be successful. As Dr. Snyder mentioned, being a good example, this committee that I represented in the town was being used as a good example for others. It's always inspiring to hear what other communities are doing and the impact that outdoor recreation has on our state's economy and on our culture. And I always get a little ambitious and think, yeah, I can do that 1,100 miles one day, and I don't. But one special moment for me was when one of the 2022 thru hikers who completed it, he was from Atlanta, Georgia, so he did not have the close family and friends support that many of our thru hikers have. You know, they have shuttles and they have people to re-provision them. He actually sought me out after I spoke and said, thank you, thank you, thank you, Oak Ridge, for having a safe, convenient place for me to camp at your town park that had water and was close for me to be able to shop and re-provision and those kinds of things. So I was very happy to, interact with him. As part of that, I will add the reminders that Ann had. The MST is looking for new members and trail volunteers. Interested people can contact Town Hall, Ann Steele, or me. If you want to talk about trails, contact me. There is a Year of the Trail guided hike on May the 13th to showcase spring on the Headwaters Trail. And I hope you have a great weekend and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman.
Yeah, I'm always amazed what the MST committee is able to do with so much volunteer help. I mean, I think the value, what is it, $20 an hour, I think is?
Oh, it's $29 an hour.
$29
And there were 44,000 volunteer hours on just the MST, which was one of 9 state trails last year, over $1 million.
And that's, like I said, that's in lieu of taxes and things like that. So we accomplished a tremendous amount of things, special events committee, all the different committees so much of what they accomplish, you know, they take $1 and multiply it by at least a factor of 10. So we are getting a lot of bang for our buck with our committees and things like that. As to your comments, Ms. Walraven, we have strategic planning sessions on a semi-regular basis because of the pressure that the new jobs that are coming into the airport, but also the houses that are being built on Pleasant Ridge Road, the apartments that are down there at 73. I asked that we move that strategic planning session up earlier, and we had one in the fall. And from that committee discussion, I think we're going to have them more often, because we realize that we can't wait 3 or 4 years to have these planning sessions. We probably need to have them almost annually, because there's going to be so much pressure. Like you said, there's going to be things that we can't anticipate. I don't think anyone would have anticipated a supersonic airplane factory, 6, 7 years ago. So that was nothing that we could even have thought about 6, 7 years ago. It just wouldn't be something we would have thought of. So we definitely agree with you that we need to plan much more aggressively. We need to think much more outside the box, and plan as best we can for things like that, and be willing and be flexible when things do come out of nowhere. So I agree with you there. Just a couple little things. I try to give little things. We're in the spring season. We are in the watershed of Greensboro, as mentioned in the planning, the rezoning. So be careful with your fertilizers and insecticides and things like that that you put on your lawns, because if you put too much of it on there, it ends up in the Haw River or the Reedy Fork. So please read the directions and follow directions. And as always, if you can give blood, please do. If you know someone that can give blood, please encourage them to give blood. It's something that they haven't found a replacement for yet. I mean, I know I have some interesting products that help, but there's no real substitute for whole blood. You save 3 lives by donating a pint of blood. So, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. Councilman McClellan.
Thank you, thank you, Madam Mayor. I tell you, allergies. First of all, I want to just, lead on with what Ms. Pittman was saying, that MST committee has done a lot of good. In fact, I believe you were telling the story how we founded that.
Yes.
And about 2 or 3 of us walking down the
Three of us,
three of us walking down the road when it was completely off trail. And look where it's at today. It is a great investment in our future. I also want to note that I had the honor today to go to the opening of one of our new businesses, Oak Ridge Bagel and Deli. They opened today. Let me tell you, I had a great sandwich while I was there, and they told me that they had exceeded their numbers for opening day. It is open, of course, owned by a local family, and of course we're already tickled by that. Also, this of course kind of follows, another business that just recently opened, which is Starbucks. So, and of course the major corporations, they're not just putting their stores here haphazardly. They're doing their homework, sort of the follow-up on what Mr. Walraven was saying. And this is going to continue. I mean, if you look at our budget, we're trying to address some of those potential issues of what people will want as they move here. The budget, the construction of Heritage Farm Park, the building of the water tower for fire suppression and future water needs, and the farmhouse community centers. These are major projects this year, and they are not pet projects, as someone alluded to earlier. These are things that will continue, and we're addressing and facing what is coming, because when you have all these people that are going to be working down at the airport, and they're earning incomes which will allow them to live here, we need to be prepared, and that is what we are doing. It is a continuous project, as as Mr. Kinnaman just mentioned, but we are continuing. As far as the budget, I just want to first of all, again, thank the Finance Committee for their outstanding work. They really did a great job. And John, I'm sorry that you're not going to be the chairman anymore. I've tried everything, including maybe kidnapping a grandchild or something. Huh? Oh, write you a check. Okay. You know, I didn't think about that. But I just want to say, I know that the committee will continue to be in good hands, you know, once John steps down from the chair. And so anyway, once again, I want to say always, thank you so much for what all of our committees and all of you are doing for our town. We couldn't do it alone. It takes all of us. And thank you.
Thank
And it's
you.
an honor to serve.
Thank you. I want to also point out, somewhere in that strategic plan, there's a plan to do an economic development plan, which I think we also see as being responsive to the growth, in addition to all of the managed growth and proactive planning that Councilman Sullivan mentioned. The goal with the budget is to serve our residents and plan for the future. It's not to stand still. As I mentioned earlier, all of our numbers are conservative and cautious. This is another tight budget, even as it is ambitious. Thanks to the many volunteers who made Canine Capers such a success. Special thanks to our assistant town manager and town clerk, Sandra Smith, for her leadership. There's a lot going on in Oak Ridge. And to help keep you up to date and to foster stronger engagement in town projects, we're planning to start holding monthly council hours during the weeks prior to council meetings. We'll hopefully start on May 25th. We'll announce all this on Facebook. We're thinking about the hours of 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m., and this would be in advance of our June meeting. And we would invite residents to drop in any time during this 8:30 to 10 a.m. slot. For this inaugural set of council hours, there will, as always, be 2 council members there, not more, because then it becomes a public meeting. But it'll be a chance for you to pose questions and offer comments and have discussions with council members about our budget coming up in June and about anything else that's of interest. And if this time of day doesn't work for you, first of all, we're always open to suggestions regarding other times, for example, and all 5 of us are always available for phone calls and emails and happy to set up one-on-one meetings with residents. I just want to also offer my congratulations to the many who will be graduating from high school and college this month. Wear your caps and gowns with pride, and remember to thank all your teachers, mentors, administrators, and your parents who've helped you reach this milestone. I'll also wish all the moms a happy Mother's Day. And with that, we'll move on to the final item, which is adjournment. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. The motion carries, and we are
Done.
adjourned.